Hello friends, welcome back to the Rayo Moon Oracle. I'm Rayo and today we're continuing our Swords series with the Tarot Discovery series. We're going through the Sword suit and we're continuing on with the Six of Swords. So we have our keywords as per usual. I'm going to show you 3 different cards from 3 different decks I've picked from my various tarot decks. I think I have like 11 or 12 of them now. So I've got a Six of Swords card from 3 different decks today that I'm going to show you. So after those 2 pieces, we'll go over some of the numerology aspects and the astrology aspects, other meanings of the card, some key symbolism in each of the cards, or that is common across many of the Six of Swords cards you might see. And then we'll get into the reversals after that, okay? So let us get started now with the keywords for the Six of Swords. We have journey, travel, recovery, healing, stability, escape, moving forward, transition, choice, adjustments, assimilate, departure, distance, acceptance, relief, restful, guidance, and change. Very clear to me. Once I started doing research in this card, I'm like, yep, okay, I see the meaning of all this card, right? So our original Rider-Waite imagery for this card, we have this mother and child in this boat being taken across what looks like turbulent waters on one side, calm waters on the other side by this boat person. The person steering the boats, captain, layman, whatever, like the person that's moving the boat along here, right? And the woman is like covered and kind of huddled away, looking away kind of towards those like future shores. So really that imagery of the future being better, that what they're coming away from is very turbulent and scary and fearful, and they're moving on to better waters, so to speak, and so what this card is depicting here, right? So our Rider-Waite imagery shows a very clear transitionary energy. We see the swords energy here for what we take with us, what is present in our life. And then there's even some like more of the emotional energy with the water imagery here. So in a yes or no reading, my interpretation, the card is usually going to mean yes, is like, yes, the situation needs to change, or yes, do that thing that's going to make the situation change. And if it's showing up in the reverse, it might be like a maybe, depending on the situation that you're asking about. Our numerological aspects of the Six of Swords card, of course, is the 6. So we're talking about alignment and symmetry with that card, because you can have it in one of 2 ways adding up to 6, right? You can have a 3 and a 3 in this case adding up to the 6, or you can have a 4 and a 2, right? So if we think about the other cards in the sword suits, right? If we're looking at the 2 of Swords, that's that decision-making process to make the decision to move on or move through a situation, and that respite coming in with the 4 of Swords. Or if we're looking at a double 3 of Swords, right? Where they mirror each other, or they kind of rebalance each other out, that grief and all the like challenges that are happening and what comes from that, being able to move on from that, right? Is how I kind of picture the reversal images of the Six of Swords with the 3 of, like the double of the 3 of Swords, if that's making sense. But also the 6 of Swords, or the 6th energy, we have good fortune and a higher spiritual life. And that higher spiritual life really coming on from the knowledge we've gained in the situation, which is also what reminds me of like that double 3 of Swords energy, right? The 3 of Swords being a very, very turbulent situation that happens to us. And when that happens enough times, right, in case we double it, and in order to get the 6, we get a lot of information from that. We're seeing repeating patterns, and we learn our lessons, and we get a lot more information from that card in this case, and moves us into that 6 of Swords energy. Astrologically, we have a focus on the air signs, of course, because we are working with the sword suit. So that's our Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. But there's a very heavy Aquarius energy here for this energy of moving on, moving forward, changing and progressing a situation. Lots of energy in like the movements and thoughts of this new world or revolution of the old world that's happening and taking place. So we come in with some like a little bit of Pluto and Scorpio energy as well in terms of astrological associations. So common imagery that we're going to see across all the different Six of Swords cards, the pretty common imagery is going to be the boat. This is our travel, our movement. It's also how we're holding the either baggage or knowledge that we're taking with us in this case, that we're using to move on, right? The boat can hold things with it. It can hold those 6 swords that we're seeing. So the 6 of swords can be the lessons we've learned. It could be our thought processes, our habits, those things that we're taking with us on this new journey. And it could also be the things that are like holding us back, that we're dragging with us into this next life, right? That baggage in this case. The mindset we carry, the way we keep faith, are, let's see, what do I have written here? Knowledge gained, and I think that's the part more than anything I like for the swords and them being carried by the boat is like the knowledge we gain, whether that's baggage or whether that's progressive knowledge that we can use in the future, right? Common imagery that we're also going to see is going to be the water. That is very, very common in this card. So the water representing our emotional states. That's kind of secondary energy of the card. So we have our mind and what we learned about the situation, but then we have what we feel. So the water being balanced on either side for the turbulent water on one side of the card in the original Rider-Waite imagery, and then the water that is calm and peaceful that we're moving through. So the lessons we've learned taking us into this more peaceful respite, or the turbulent emotions from like working through such a difficult situation in the first place. I think the boat captain is kind of what I've been writing it as, or calling it in my notes, is a very important aspect. We don't see that across the board in all the different cards you might see for the 6 of Swords. It could be the person, there's only one person in the boat, and then they're the one actually directing and driving the boat. Or as we see in the original like Rider-Waite imagery, for example, there is the people in the boat that are being taken or ferried across by this person, right? So if the person is by themselves, the way that I interpret the 6 of Swords card is going to be a little different, because that is the person moving themselves in this case, moving themselves to a better life, to a new situation, running away, getting away from that old situation. If there is like a ferryman or a boatman in this case, then it can be somebody that's coming in as a guide, somebody that is a mentor, some type of just like spirit guide. It could be like spirit guide. That can be an actual like higher authority figure. It could be somebody that's just helping in the situation. It could just be that like right person at the right time, right? That can help get you out of the situation. So those imagery, different symbolism and energy is, I think, very interesting for the 6 of Swords card here. So now let's look at the 3 cards I picked out for us today. So first card that I wanted to talk about is the one from the Gilded Tarot. Let's see. Have you like right there? I'll have it up on the screen here right as well. So we see in this case we have our 6 swords standing upright in the boats. I think that shows a way that they're being taken as knowledge and pillars of knowledge in this case, versus in another card I'll show you here in a minute, when the swords are out, then they can be more the baggage or can be damaging potentially, right? Because the sword that's standing upright, that can cut somebody, but if it's more down and it's put away, then it's got less dangerous potentially. So I think this sword standing upright is very important. There's a lot of emotional energy in this card, specifically from the Gilded Tarot. We have the moon in the background here. We have the figure wearing a blue cloak. And then, of course, we have the water with a lot of water plants around it, right? So we're moving across like a lake or rivers, like a big river or something. So we have all these water plants that add to that energy of transition and spiritualness. And then our waters being our emotions, that blue also representing that emotional state. And then the moon, those things, those secrets hidden, those deep subconscious feelings. So this card I think is very interesting. I think it gets more into, we have the mental state with the swords, but we also have a lot of the emotion present in this card specifically. Our next card I pulled from the Accurate AF Tarot. So this one right here. And this one on the bottom, it says resolution and moving on. And we have the World card in the World on the bottom right here. I said the World card, so maybe that kind of ties in a little bit. But again, the knowledge we've learned from our experiences in the world, right? And our 6 of Swords, our six swords are pointing upright. I like the way it kind of divides a little bit more, kind of representing that like 3 and 3, the balance, that synergy, that like it feels like very much like the scales, that Libra energy, and the way things can stay balanced and therefore like resolute. We've moved on. We have a very balanced, nuanced like choice that's taking place here, right? That we're moving on from or moving through. And with the sword standing upright in this case, I think it's interesting that it's like, okay, it can show the pain of the situation a little bit more, right? That we are trying to defend ourselves, that we're trying to keep ourselves safe by having that sword upright potentially. Our final card that I pulled for us is from the Santa Muerte. So this lovely, lovely card. There we go. I'll put it up anyway. I turned off the autofocus because it just kept going in and out and in and out. So I'm just going to like have a straight focus and go with that. But with our Santa Muerte card, what I like for this one is the figures and how the swords are like literally like in the back of our skeletons here. I think that's very, very interesting. I think it shows a lot more of the pain potentially that's come from the situation. The way we're moving on, the figures are kind of like hiding and huddled down in the boat as well. But there is, while this card feels a lot more aggressive, like in terms of sort of a Six of Swords card versus like say the Gilded Tarot that I just showed earlier, there is some hope still in this card, because on the top of the card here we can see the like yellow kind of sunflower cards that are representing the suit sword in this card, this deck specifically. Representing that like kind of like that sunshine, that little bit of like, okay, there is a brighter future ahead. It doesn't feel like it now. We're kind of crossing turbulent waters, as we can see at the bottom of the card, but there is hope for the future. There is a new light, a brighter light shining as we're working our way on this path here. So very, very different cards, and I really, really like that. I think the way the Six of Swords can be interpreted differently across the different decks and in the original Rider-Waite imagery is very interesting here. But let us look at our other meanings for this card here. So we have the pain of moving on, indecision, better times ahead. We're taking action to overcome difficulty, and finally having hope at last. We can get a change of scenery with this card. We have rest and revitalization, overcoming old mental patterns. So again, that swords energy here, what we're taking with us. And maybe we took that original sword with us, but we're like, yeah, I don't think, as we're on our journey, in this really long journey, potentially we're like, nah, I don't need that anymore. We just chuck it overboard, right? We have moving on to like be with loved ones, be present with loved ones. We bring hopes and dreams with one of the other options or the interpretations for this card. Picking up the pieces and getting back on track, knowing that we're not a victim and handling our shit. Leaving our comfort zone, asking ourselves what are we carrying with us, whether or not that is something valid to take with us, if that is something we actually need as we're progressing in our situation and through our life. We have changing orientation. We have, what's that say? New solutions. Like that, new solutions. Calm after the storm, finally. That like breath of fresh air. Like, okay, I can actually like take a breath. Things have been going so hard for so long. So we can finally like take that breath, that things are calming down now. We have emotional and mental baggage, like we've been talking about, and like a rite of passage. That like journeying is very much a part of the Fool's journey overall in the major arcana, but just one that we'll see commonly across like a hero's journey throughout their life, throughout a story, throughout our own lives. This is a very set archetype where this is like a rite of passage or movement forward, having to take this next step. Okay, so now let's get into our reversals. For reversals, they're the two ways I've found in my research that the reversals tend to present themselves when the card comes through is that it's too much of the energy or it's not enough of the energy. I'll kind of explain as we're talking through if that doesn't make sense. But so not having enough of the energy in this case would be not having any growth, people holding you back. Not being able to let go of burdens, right? So we're not taking that we're holding ourselves back. We're not taking Six of Swords energy and moving forward. So it can be not letting go of burden. It could be letting go of burdens, actually. So making that movement forward. So it can kind of flip both ways in terms of what the reversal could mean. But we have holding yourself back, resistance or delay, change with discomfort. Change is worth the discomfort. Change with discomfort, that's also true if I wrote that way. We could be avoiding action with this card coming in the reverse. The changes could be something that's happening very privately. Again, keep in mind all of this is balanced out by what other cards are in the reading potentially, and then what you're asking about specifically. We could be feeling trapped or not stable. Instability is what I wrote, but not feeling stable. We could be resisting change. What the imagery that came to mind is like swimming against the rapids. Like we're trying to swim upstream, right? Versus going with the flow and getting like our bearings and working our way through the stream. And what the life changes are happening, we're swimming upstream instead and going against all these rapids, and it's just not working, right? So in that case, we need to leave it behind, let go, but we have maybe this fear of progress. We can feel stuck in the past. We can feel trapped. We can be with this card returning to the past and looking at a past situation, and then moving out of that situation a little bit better. And finally, some of the last thoughts I had for this card in the reverse are having unfinished business, like I were talking about, and then out of the frying pan and into the fire. So what that means is if we're having too much of this energy, we're having too much Six of Swords energy, where we're in the reverse, where we're not letting go, we're not moving on and letting the situation die or like go away like we need to. If we're not letting go of that situation, we're trying to swim upstream, the situation just progresses and gets worse and worse and worse. So not fun energy and not something you want to do. Six of Swords energy, as we're finishing up here, very, very interesting card. I think it can be a very healing card. It can be a very muted card sometimes. Like I think when I've gotten it in readings before, it doesn't feel very in my face. It doesn't feel very like, hey, pay attention to me. It feels a little bit softer. The sword suit is very challenging in a lot of ways, but I think the Six of Swords is one of the a little bit more calm cards overall. Again, depends on the deck for sure, but just in general, I feel that's kind of the energy coming out. I get a lot more of the energy of the rest and the reflection and moving on and progressing, right? Going with that change, going with the flow of change. And I think that's very important in our lives and energy that we do need at times, because nothing can stay the same all the time. Nothing can stay the same forever. All the time seems a little funny to think about, but everything changes at some point in our lives, so it can't stay that way forever is the wording I wanted earlier. But that is all I have for us today, friends. I hope you learned something. I hope I gave you some useful knowledge or information here. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. We'll keep going with our sword suit and talking about the Seven of Swords next, so I'll see you in the next video. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are in space and time, and I'll see you later. Have a good day. Bye.